Okay, good morning, everyone. We know you've got a busy day, so we're going to ask everyone if they wouldn't mind taking a seat so we can get started. Okay. Good morning. I'm Mayor Tim Baldermann. I want to thank all of you for being here today. Before we get started, as all of you know, New Lenox is the home of proud Americans, and we talk about that quite a bit. That is our slogan. We'll talk a little bit about our branding later on, but one thing that the board members and myself were insistent on is that we never forget that we are the home of proud Americans, and that is because of the many brave men and women that have served and continue to serve our country. So with that in mind, I'd ask that you'd all please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I apologize for the voice. It is, like many people, I got over the flu just a few days ago, and now this is what's remaining. But it has been worse in the past. Certainly, I want to thank Silver Cross as we get started here, not only for hosting the facility here and for sponsoring by supplying the food for all of us. I have been a regular visitor to Silver Cross. I think there are times that I've given the state of the village and just walked down from my room upstairs or hobbled down, as is the case, but I've always received incredible care here at Silver Cross Hospital. So we're very grateful not only for what they're doing for us here today, but for what they've brought to our community. So thank you to Silver. I want to say thank you to Emily Johnson, one of our village trustees, also the director of the Chamber of Commerce in New Lenox. We have many chamber members that are here. Our New Lenox Chamber does a wonderful job with our local businesses and certainly to help host this event. And the board and I constantly comment on the incredible staff that we have at the Village of New Lenox. Many of you know that. We just have to pass policy at the dais, but it's the staff members that we have that are doing the good job day in and day out. And as far as today's event goes, Nancy Dye is here, our Economic Development Director. Nancy has served in numerous positions in the community, giving of her time and efforts and talents. And we're very fortunate to have her serve in that capacity. And I'm grateful for all the work that she put in for today's presentation. So I will keep it as brief as possible. I was told a long time ago by a political mentor of mine who unfortunately has his wake today and his funeral tomorrow, Mayor Gene Siegel from Chicago Ridge. And Gene taught me many years ago, if you want to be seen, stand up. If you want to be heard, speak up. If you want to be liked, sit down. So I will go as quickly as I can, but certainly we want to be informative and answer any questions that you have at the end of our presentation. So Nancy, I'm ready to get rolling. All right. First up, New Lenox continues to thrive. We were just recently named the 100th safest community in the entire United States. That is not only because of the outstanding work of our police department and our fire department, but because of the residents that keep a vigilant eye on their community, that keep an eye on their children, and that are happy to get involved here. We are the only accredited safe community in the state of Illinois, which is awarded by the National Safety Council and the World Health Organization. Many of you are familiar with our Safe Communities program. It's the big umbrella where we have our CERT volunteers and we have our Matter of Balance classes for seniors, our suicide prevention classes. We just had a gun safety program that took place. It's not only the village employees that are involved in that. It's headed up by Dan Martin from our police department, but it has members of the business community and residents that come together to provide talents to help out and keep our community safe. So again, this is a world designation, and we are the only community in the state of Illinois, and we have been reaccredited with that Safe Community designation. Newsweek 2016 list of best public high schools. They included Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central. A phenomenal education takes place there. We're very excited to see them continue to grow. I am the only member of my family that has not attended a Lincoln Way school. My wife and 5 children have, and that's why they're all smarter than I am. Although no disrespect to Marist High School, I certainly got a great education there. But also one of the 5 best cities for young families in Illinois, and one of the best cities for young couples in the Chicagoland area. So we continue to be recognized throughout the country for all the good things that are happening here in New Lenox. All right. We continue to grow. We, as many of you know, and we've got some builders and developers in the room, New Lenox has, I believe, has always done an excellent job with looking at growth, making sure that we're able to provide quality housing for our residents and for people who want to move in, but growing at a rapid rate. We are nowhere near our heyday, which was about 350, 375 homes a decade ago or so, but we have bounced back nicely. You can see our construction that went from 34 back in 2010 to well over 170 this year. When we talk about Lincoln Way and the Lincoln Way area, our entire area continues to grow, but New Lenox sees as much growth as the rest of the communities combined pretty much. So we're doing very, very well here with housing starts. Okay, Nancy? All right, here is our ranking when we talk about housing starts. Again, we're number 7 according to Metro study, and of those 7 communities, 1 is the city of Chicago, 2 are in Indiana, and we are the top community that is exclusively in Will County. Naperville, of course, is in Will County and DuPage with their growth. But so you can see just how well we are doing, how we continue to grow residentially. 25 new businesses have come into town. You could see a list of them here. Some of them, like I've talked about before, it never fails. We get some great restaurants, and then you can go to Beast Training Academy and work off your Five Guys hamburgers. So you can see, and Anytime Fitness as well. So you can see these new businesses that have come. People want to invest in our community. And we're going to talk a little bit more about local businesses later. A lot of these business owners are our residents, or they live in the general vicinity. And they have decided to put their hard money that they've worked hard for into our community where they live, and that's why it's extremely important that we support the local businesses. We love having big box stores. They're wonderful to provide some tax base, but those small businesses, the infill businesses, a lot of times those are our residents. That's how they pay their mortgage. That's how they raise their family. And so we encourage you, anytime you have the opportunity, to visit one of those shops, that you do so. We also have been very fortunate to have a number of businesses that are reinvesting in our community. And you see that here. There's a list, and we've got, I think, another slide of some others that have put money back into their business. So they want to rehab it. They want to stay. And sometimes we get calls from residents saying, boy, that's been under construction for a long time. What's happening? Well, you know what? These are not always multi-million-dollar corporations. Even some of these franchises, they're owned by local people. And it's, they're really struggling to put their hard-earned money back into their business, but they do it. And we're grateful and appreciative for that. So we ask that you be patient, that sometimes it takes a little longer to get that going. But the fact that they're willing to say, New Lenox is where I want to be, and I'm going to spend my money, we're appreciative. We're very grateful for that. Thank you. Now, we set forth some strategic goals a few years back a 5-year strategic plan. Number one, you want to have some, you want to be fiscally stable. Typically, governments, local governments in general, like to keep about 25% of the money in reserve in case they fall on hard times. And we'll talk about some of those potential hard times that could be coming for local government. Here in New Lenox, we have over 30% in reserve. That was one of our main strategic goals. And I don't want the state of Illinois to think that because we got that money that we don't need it. We still need more. We'll talk about that. But we but Kim Oxtetter, our finance director, I had to promise her when we talked about all of our grandiose plans that the first thing we would do is make sure that we've got reserves in case the rainy day came. And we have done that. We have stayed there. But we've also continued our property tax rebate program. Now, we started that rebate program on a promise 7 years ago. And over that 7 years, we have returned nearly $6 million to our residents. This year, we're at 75% of what we're going to be rebating of the local property tax to our people. This year's rebate, those checks go out in a couple weeks, is close to $1.1 million of property taxes paid by our people that we give back. 75%. That means that the average homeowner in our community may be paying at the end of the day about $8 a month for their police services, for their public works services, for their village hall services. That's something that we're extremely proud of. The promise that we made when we started that also was that we were going to eliminate vehicle stickers, which doesn't seem, and pet tags, which doesn't seem like much, but in a young community like ours where there's 3 and 4 cars per home and 2 dogs and everything else, I mean, you're talking another $70, $100. For our revenue, that's another $250,000, $300,000 a year that we have given back to our community. So we're extremely proud of that. Redevelopment. The village itself, in just a moment we're going to talk about how the village got involved at Route 30 in Cedar. We looked at our area. We have very few empty storefronts. We had a problem at Route 30 in Cedar where private developers tried to put things together, but the village stepped in. And in the long run, we will all benefit from that. And again, I'll touch on that a little bit. Water system capacity analysis of Route 30. We're talking about a couple things there. Number one, this is a community that's been around since 1946. We've got water mains now that are breaking that need to be replaced. We have a comprehensive plan in place for that. We have 3 wastewater treatment plants that need to be repaired. Those are expensive. The board made a decision. We could do one of 2 things. We could continue to just Band-Aid and duct tape and kick the can down the road and not take care of it. Or we could rip the Band-Aid off. Well, it's not popular. We get calls pretty regularly about people's water and sewer bill. But we ripped the Band-Aid off. We said our main responsibility is not just today. It is the promise of tomorrow and the future for New Lenox. New Lenox will be around a lot longer than me or any of the trustees. So we made the tough decision that everybody needs to participate. Residents, businesses, everybody's paying a little more. But we will have improved roads, we will have an improved water system, and we will be set for decades to come. Those are tough decisions to make. Those are tough decisions for elected officials to make. We get the phone calls, but I would rather not get reelected and know that we left the community in good shape than just do what's politically expedient. And I'm grateful that the 6 board members that I serve with feel the same way. We take some tough hits, but we pay the water bills too. So we realize it's not easy, but that's part of living in a growing community. And we are going to continue to provide for our future in these areas of infrastructure. Marketing the village. It's extremely important to market your community. there are people from all over, and when we talk about some of the events later on in the presentation, that know about New Lenox. Now, I'll be honest with you, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and like a lot of people, just kept migrating south. I didn't know where New Lenox was. When I moved out here in 1994, my dad said, have a look at New Lenox. I said, okay. As I drove past a cow on Francis Road, I said, where are you sending me? But he said, you're going to want to look at New Lenox. I had young children. The schools were excellent. I'm so glad in 1994 I made the decision to move here. And we have grown accordingly. And we want to make sure that when our kids and grandkids come back here, they continue to have a community they can be proud of, that's providing for them, and that's our promise as a village board to you. Updating our comprehensive plan. This is important. We're looking at that now. We need to make sure that as we're looking at the footprint of New Lenox, that we've got businesses being zoned properly and where they go, and that changes from time to time, there's no question. New Lenox is ultimately 43 square miles that can be built out. A population that could exceed 100,000 people at one point. Well, obviously that's going to change, and not everything grows from the center out. It's patchworked, which makes it more difficult for our police and for our public works department, but we find a way to get it done. But we need to constantly update our comprehensive plan, and that's something that we're looking at doing now. So, moving on. That's okay. There is the elevation that we're all just seeing for the first time now, proposed CVS. The board has not had an opportunity to really get into it, but that Route 30 and Cedar redevelopment project. I'm going to talk about that for a minute. You had the Pit Stop Bar, and for those of you that frequented there, I'm sorry that had to come down. You had Charlie Horse, which was New Lenox Restaurant, at one time Bruns. It was a wonderful staple in our community, but had been vacant for years. You had a nice local dry cleaner, and then you had an underperforming gas station that had horrible access. Private development attempted to put that plan together, and it was going to be near a cost of $4 million, and it just was not feasible. We were able to go in and negotiate contracts for $1 million less. $1 million less, which now made it feasible. Now, do you want the village to step in? Yes, you do, because you don't want to look at vacant buildings and rundown buildings, especially in the heart of your community. We have been able to sell those parcels back, and within just a few years of what we got for the parcels themselves, plus the sales tax that will be generated, we will recoup all of our money. We didn't do a TIF district. We don't do TIF districts here in New Lenox because we don't want to hurt our schools and our other amenities, our other governing bodies rather. It creates new jobs and new amenities for the people. And so this spring, the groundbreaking will take place for the CVS, and we can look at the next slide of the businesses that are coming. Zembar Jewelers, Fleckenstein's Bakery, Durbin's, and then we're going to talk about some of those other businesses in a moment. But that's what's going to go up at Route 30 and Cedar, and perhaps even another small restaurant type. We're still in the works with them, talking to them about that. But we will also be able to use some of that sales tax money to build a new train station. We have, for a community like ours, we have one of the worst train stations along the line. It's horrible. But it is a protected, designated historical site, which is great, but that means you're limited as to what you can do as far as rehabbing it, rebuilding it. So we are going to build a new train station further down the line to the east, closer to the larger parking lot, which will make it easier for commuters. It will also clear the train from Route 30 so the gates will go up and it won't block traffic. So the existing train station will remain, and I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there. But so we're cognizant of our history, but we will build something more efficient and more modern for our commuters. Also, now you see some of the other businesses that are coming in here. Alden. I want to talk a little bit about what Alden is bringing. Alden's building a 3-story, 100-bed skilled nursing rehab facility and a 1-story, 40-bed skilled memory care facility, Route 6 and 355, just east here of Silver Cross. They're planning on also building 53 units of independent living on South Cedar Road for senior housing, which we need more of. Township's got a senior building which is full and a long waiting list, so we will be able to have some additional senior housing for people. We're very excited to see that come. Dunkin Donuts. I told my friends from Dunkin Donuts, I asked them if they were aware of product placement, and there would be a cost for me having this mug, but they're going to take the old statuary building on Route 30 near the fire department that has been vacant for years and put a Dunkin Donuts there. So then you see the rec center, Terabella Salon. We have more businesses coming. Go ahead, Nancy. Thank you. And speaking of those businesses, as I said earlier, we need to take care of them. Local businesses truly are the backbone of our community. Shop New Lenox is a directory on the village's website where you can find all of our local businesses. We have Celebrate and Shop in December. It's a promotional program for local businesses that we've held for the past 3 years. There are 2 new programs being added in 2017, a spring promotion in April and a restaurant week in September. All promotions are a collaborative effort between the village and the chamber, and coming up in early March we're going to be able to talk to you a little bit about that one that's happening in April. We have had for many years now Notice New Lenox, which are infomercials because everybody's watching Channel 6. How can you not? It's riveting television. And it gives us an opportunity though to share what's happening in our town, and especially to spotlight those local businesses and kind of remind all of us. We all need a reminder. You know, you need to go run out and buy a shirt, or you need to go out and buy, or you want to go out to dinner, or you want to do something. Let's not always go to another community. Let's stay here in town. Let's keep it local as often as we possibly can. Great schools. Again, I know I moved out here for the schools. Many people moved out here for the schools. This gives me another opportunity to talk about them. Last night I was asked to go to St. Jude to talk to the girls basketball team. They're playing their conference championship game today. St. Jude is a great little school in our town. Wonderful school. Providence High School does a wonderful job. We are all well aware of what happens in our public schools. We have District 122, again, where my 2 oldest kids started at Schmuel School, which is now a little museum across the street from Walgreens. They have attended a number of New Lenox grade schools and got a great education at each and every one of them. I was fortunate to serve as the school board president in 122, and I know the good people that are there. I know the hard work that they do. They continue to perform. Lincoln Way High School. The education that takes place at Lincoln Way High School, in my opinion, is second to none. I have 4 of my older children that are now out of college and are in careers, and what they learned at Lincoln Way when they went away to college, they were very well set. With their peers, they were ahead of the game. The education they received K through 12 in this district was outstanding, and it truly has prepared them. And so we appreciate the efforts. Dr. Tingley, thank you for what you're doing over there at Lincoln Way. We all know about the struggles that Lincoln Way is going through. They're well on their way to a financial turnaround, but one thing that's never been in question has been the education that the kids have received. Dr. Schmidt is here, the Lincoln Way West principal. She was at Central when my kids were there. She did a wonderful job. She's doing a great job at West, and we appreciate what Dr. Provis is doing as well at Central. But our Lincoln Way schools are fantastic. And then Union School, what's there to say? You know, I don't want to make anyone else feel bad, but they did give a property tax rebate to their residents this year. Doesn't hurt that 91% of the tax base comes from industrial, but it's a great little school that serves a few streets in New Lenox and in an area of Joliet. Dynamic leadership, but I digress. We'll move on. Great partnerships. We take that for granted here in New Lenox. I can assure you, if you know people or if you yourself live in other communities, it's not that there aren't other great towns around, there certainly are. But what is truly, truly unique in New Lenox is the way that we all work together. The way that we work with our park district, our library, the county, the state, the township. You've got our federal government, our fire protection district, the Chamber of Commerce, Sheriff Fest, where you've got many faiths coming together for the good of our community. That's rare. I can tell you that that doesn't happen in a lot of towns. There is infighting. There is infighting, and of course we've already talked about the schools. They're part of our partnership as well, where they're not getting along, where they don't work together. That doesn't happen here. And it's not just the village. The schools have got a great relationship with the parks, and we all work together for the good of our community because we realize that we are serving the same people. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that with nearly 7,000 governmental bodies in Illinois, it's too many. It's too many. We want to do something about local property taxes. That's where we need to take a look. It's too many. There's duplicated services. But this is what we have. This is the way the government is set up in Illinois. And if it's going to be that way, I'm at least happy that it runs extremely efficiently here in this area. Now, we've got representatives that are here from our schools, of course. Dr. Manville is here, and she's got other representatives with her from 122. I've talked about our Lincoln Way friends that are here. We have got county board members that are here. We got Ray Tuminello, a former village trustee who's doing a great job for us there at the county. I can always pick up the phone, call Ray, and we work on county projects. We've got state representatives here. I know State Representative Margo McDermott is here. State Representative Anthony DeLuca in the back of the room is here. I know that Senator Hastings and Senator Hutchinson were going to be here. I don't know if they made it or sent representatives. But it's easy for me to pick up the phone and call any of them and not only get a return phone call, but get real action. Real action. Mike Hickey from the township is here and other township representatives. We need to work collaboratively because when I talked about the patchwork of New Lenox, you've got a lot of incorporated, unincorporated areas. We serve the same people that are in need. The township and their food pantry does a wonderful job, so we work closely with them. The fire protection district, our chief and representatives from the fire department are here. A lot of communities have the fire department in the village services. We don't. They're a separate district. But I'll tell you, you would swear they were ours because they are at every event. They are there anytime we need them, and we're grateful for that. Our congressman, I'm able to pick up the phone. I talk to Congressman Foster on a regular basis, and he represents this area by the hospital, very responsive. Chamber of Commerce we've talked about. Our library district, because they're in our village commons, we're constantly working with them. And Sheriff Fest, you know, the old adage of, you know, you shouldn't mix state with religious institutions. Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't feel that way. They're a part of our community. We should work together, and we do. And that's a great way of doing that. Now, because I have the microphone, I'm going to go off on a little bit here. I'm going to talk about the impact of what's happening with the issues in Springfield and the issues in Washington. Washington, believe it or not, not so much. But Springfield, it's no secret what's happening down there. It's horrible. It's unconscionable. It's irresponsible. We don't have that problem with our local representatives. They work hard for us. We have Republicans and Democrats that represent our area. Now, as the mayor, I'm in a nonpartisan position. It's no secret what my personal party beliefs are, but I will tell you that I am a strong believer in people before party. I will support whoever supports our community. I don't care what their party affiliation is. If they're going to work hard for the people of New Lenox, they will have my support. Senator Hastings just joined us. Nice to see you, Senator.
Mayor, good morning.
Thank you. Now, Representative DeLuca has put forth legislation that deals with local government distributive fund. That is previous legislation that makes a promise that tax money is going to come back to the local government so we can supply services. We receive about $2.4 million in the local government distributive fund. Representative DeLuca has talked about wanting to see that get to the levels that it was meant to be at so we can continue to provide those services. Because let's face it, it is the local government that is impacting your life every day. It is the local government bodies that are educating your children, that are fixing your roads, that are supplying clean water, that are keeping your streets safe. I applaud his efforts in that legislation, and I would hope there would be bipartisan support to make sure that that gets passed so the local governments can continue to provide the services. Now, I will say, and I know this because I'm fortunate to be able to represent Will County and go down and meet with leadership to talk about issues that impact local villages and schools, that our local representatives that I have mentioned are there fighting for us. They are. They're working hard to do what they can do to support our community. But the bipartisan politics taking place in Springfield are ruining communities, ruining schools, having a major impact on the people that need the services the most. And it's disgusting, and it needs to stop. And it is impacting each and every one of us. So let me tell you that I don't care, Republican or Democrat. I care about government service. And if there's talk about taking away local government distributive funds, sometimes it was talked about half, which would mean we would lose $1.2 million. That's a lot in our budget for trying to provide services. When you talk about property tax freezes, yes, nobody wants to see their property taxes go up. There's no question. Nobody wants to see their property taxes go up. But I can assure you, as good as that sounds, the impact that it will have on local schools is devastating. If you live in this community, you have made a choice to pay a little more so your kids receive a good education, so they live in a safe town, so you have good roads and clean water. We have to stop with doing what's politically expedient and make the tough choices. When I talk about our village board ripping off the Band-Aid and saying, yeah, we're going to take the hits, we're going to take the punches because people's water and sewer bills are going to go up and they're going to be angry. That's okay. Because it's not about my next election or the trustees' next election. It's about our kids that are going to live here and our grandchildren that are going to live here. And we will make the tough choices. And I'm grateful that we have local representatives that are willing to do the same thing. But their voices need to be heard. It needs to stop. And I can assure you that as the mayor of this community, I am there on a regular basis. I am contacting legislators on a regular basis, imploring them to do what's right, not what looks good. And so let's hope that that happens. Because if it doesn't, all of our communities are going to suffer. I'm done with that. We'll move on. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'll lighten up. Premier healthcare. This area, I talked about this last year. This area at one time was designated for 2 million square feet of retail. You know what? Good thing it didn't happen. With what's happening with online sales, that traditional retail is struggling. And you don't need big box retail empty stores. Premium healthcare, I'll take that every day of the week. If New Lenox is known for having quality healthcare, which we see up here represented, I'll take that. We've got, of course, Silver Cross Hospital. I should have a wing named after me, not because I've made any financial contribution, but because every part of my body has been operated on. They have great partnerships, University of Chicago Medicine, the ambulatory surgical center that's coming, University of Chicago, Lurie Children's Hospital, the Rehabilitation Institute. We have the proposed Silver Oaks Hospital, a 100-bed behavioral mental health hospital that's being proposed on the west side. Well, let me tell you something. On its face, that may not also sound like a great thing politically to get behind, but I don't care. Mental health issues need to be addressed. There are people who are suffering from mental health issues, and there is a lack of quality care in Will County for those people. I'm glad it's coming to New Lenox. I want to see it here. It is good for our town. It is good for the area. I support it 100%. I'm confident that it will get approved. So I'm happy to see it. Present St. Joe and their Healing Arts Pavilion. They represent us over for Route 30 on the south side of town. So there are many options for people to go. When you talk about, we all know people who have been touched by cancer. We see the horrible illnesses that some children deal with. The nice comforting thing to know is they can come to this campus and not have to travel downtown to get that care. They can do it right here in New Lenox. Now, marketing the town is important, like I said. It brings people out to local businesses to shop. It brings people out to see what we have to offer and say, you know what? That's where I want to move. That's where I want to raise my family. It brings awareness to all of the good things that are happening in New Lenox. It's no secret that the fact that we market our community is the reason why we are named one of the safest, one of the best places for young couples, one of the best places for families. Now, we want this to be a tourist destination as well. We've got, as I said, 43 square miles that we can build out. We have a population that can quadruple. We want to do it responsibly, but we want to grow. So we've got a brief presentation here. Nancy, is it ready to go? All right, here you go. I ask you to have a little look at this. This was our Christmas in the Commons. the numbers that we had of the people that came out, over 1,400 letters were written to Santa and responded to. Santa sent out over 1,400 letters to kids from 58 different communities. Those were just letters that were put in the box, so we don't even know how many other communities had representatives here, but 58 different communities. We partnered with the Park District to put an ice rink out there, synthetic ice. So regardless of what happened with the weather, people could skate. 946 rentals, 1/3 of them came from outside of our Park District. 1/3. So think about the impact that that has. We had by far not only the largest lit Santa Claus in the world, who took a nosedive with a bad wind, but we, even Silver Cross couldn't patch him up, but that's all right. But think about how many people came to New Lenox. Young families came to New Lenox. Grandparents came to New Lenox and said, you know what? This is where I want to live. This is where I want to be. I like to give credit to Annette Bowden, who's sitting here, because when I was first elected mayor, and Annette and I had served together on the board, Annette was the biggest proponent of we can't lose the small town feel. And I agree, I buy in. And so as large as we get, we still want to have that community center. We still want to have a place where people can come together as a community. And the Commons is where that takes place. The Christmas in the Commons this year was outstanding. Of course, as the village administrator knows, Kurt Carroll is here, and Beth Alderson, who handles our special events. It's not good enough. We want more. We want to have some sort of Crindle Market or something out there for next year, so we're looking to expand on that. We've talked to the Park District. Brian Fisher is here, president of the Park Board, and the ice rink was great, so maybe we ought to double the size of the thing for next year so there's more room. So we're going to continue to grow, and I know have more people come out, but it really has been a great destination. Our triple play concerts, I've had 8 years worth of triple play concerts. We're working on next year's. No announcements yet. I have one locked in, but I digress. A lot of fun, people come out, but you see what happens then as we're marketing our community. Throughout the summer we have thousands and thousands of people that come out. In the winter we've got thousands of people that come out to the center of town. Not to mention all the 5Ks that take place there with Trinity Services, for example, who's in the Commons, and the great work that they do. We have people constantly coming to the center of town. Community events, here's some of them. Bands and Brews, National Night Out with the Police Department, the Ladies' Night Out. I got invited one year and was not welcome back after that. I don't know why. Wine and Jazz Night, which is a big success. All of our movie nights to bring the kids out there. And where else can an 8th grader go and hold hands and walk around the circles? So, you know, it's just such a wonderful community that tries to have something for everybody. We are a village board that's not afraid to make promises, and we're not afraid to keep those promises. When we asked this community to allow us to become home rule, prior to having 25,000 people, which was the threshold, which we've now exceeded, we made some promises. We said we'd give a property tax rebate. We said we'd give 33% back. We didn't. We gave 40%. That's increased every year, now up to 75%. We said we'd go from 1.5 miles of local road improvements to 7 miles a year. We do that. That means, essentially, a local road, the street in front of your house, lasts about 20 years. Every 20 years that will be resurfaced and fixed. So you will have your new road on time. Nelson Road, man, that was a struggle. That was not easy, but it happened. We were able to deliver. In Nelson Road, people are now driving on Nelson Road. You wouldn't think it means much, but it's a huge difference, not only in commute times, But for the people who live off gear in that neighborhood, takes a lot of traffic off their road, certainly is helpful for them. Tax cap not exceeded. When you are a home rule community, you can do more. We said we wouldn't, and we haven't. We kept our promise to the taxpayers. We wouldn't do that. Despite the recession, despite the tough times, we never cut back on services, we never laid off staff, and we never exceeded the cap. And as I said before, no tax increment districts, no TIFs. Be great to have TIFs. Wonderful to have TIFs, but not for the schools, not for the parks, not for the fire protection district. But because they're our partners, because we realize we represent the same people, we're not going to do that to them. We won't do it. So, we are not finished. The new Metra station is coming. A new branding and marketing plan for our community. We're going to continue to promote the local businesses and recruit new businesses. And we're going to try to pursue some grant funding for some streetscape improvements along Route 30. That's always a goal of ours. Grant funding is tough to come by, but certainly we're going to continue to try and do that. Okay. All right. Well, that's not too bad, about 45 minutes. So I hope you weren't scared off by the 10 o'clock ending time. I will open it up now for any questions that anyone has here at all. Nothing? It was so informative. There are no questions? Okay, yes?
Where the proposed Dunkin Donuts is going to be?
Yes.
Are they going to remodel that building or put up a new one?
Yes. We have our representatives here that are going to put up a new building there.
It'll be a new building.
It'll be a new building.
The whole one's actually getting demolished. Yeah, it'll be demolished and it'll be a brand new building.
Demolished in a brand new building, which is exciting. I mean, it really is. I will tell you, and let me just talk about our friends that are here from Dunkin Donuts, because they own the one on Laraway as well as the one in the Walmart. They're typical of a lot of our local business owners. They give to the community. They give back. The Dunkin Donuts on Laraway sponsored the bus to take people out to the wreaths across America that the fire chief and Skip Minger worked on so hard at Abraham Lincoln Cemetery. They sponsored that. They're constantly sponsoring schools and kids organizations. And it's not just them, it's many of our local businesses. Thank you. It's many of our local businesses that give back. They don't just take, they care. They give back. And so thank you for all of your efforts, not only in taking an old abandoned building and demolish it and building it something new and providing new jobs and amenities, but for giving to our community. So we truly appreciate that. Next question. Yes, Mark.
What's the status of the property next to Taco Bell there on 30 as far as construction?
Okay, the old Papa Joe's restaurant. It's a good question. It's a fair question to ask. The good people from Williamson's bought that property. We were grateful that they did because, again, it was sitting there vacant for quite some time. They thought they might be able to rehab that building. It turns out it was a far bigger project than originally thought, so now it's a complete demolish. They're having some steel issues. So it's taking a little bit of time. They are moving forward. We'd like to see it move forward. Of course, no one likes to see it sitting there, but here's what I would say. As I did say earlier, the option was that it was an old abandoned Pizza Joe's, or Papa Joe's. Now it's going to be rehabbed. Yes, it takes a little time, but again, these are local community people. These aren't big multi-million-dollar corporations that are investing their hard-earned money to try and turn something around. So it's taking a little more time than we would all like, but it is moving forward, and we're grateful that they're reinvesting in New Lenox. Thank you. Next, yes?
Any prospects for the old Floyd's restaurant?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Because I neglected to mention that and the KMART. So thank you. We just received word with Floyd from the bank that they have a few restaurants that are wanting to get in there, and they would anticipate in the next 30 to 45 days to be able to come to terms with one of them, which will be good to see. It's a great location. As far as the KMART goes, as you know, our KMART lasted a lot longer than many others did, but we're happy to see that now there's a contract in the works. It looks like they're very close with the developer. As a matter of fact, I think they're just finalizing a few things. That was the word that we got. I was able to speak to that developer earlier today. So I can't tell you exactly who the tenants will be at this point, but the nice thing is that a major piece of property won't sit empty long. Thank you for that. Yes?
I'm concerned about Silver Cross Boulevard. I travel it from
Yes.
Francis down to Route 6, and you said that part of it is New Lenox, and who's responsible for the other part?
Well, you've got like the county at Francis. That's a real difficult turn, as you know, as you come off of Francis. You've got the bridge there. That's some tough engineering. Then you have the village. We have some new development when we talk about Silver Oak Hospital. There's no question that that road needs to be done. We like to, if we can, of course, have private development pay for those infrastructure improvements. I mean, the village participates when it can, but we can't always go around and pay for, the taxpayers pay for everything. We'd like to see some of that development pay for it as well. But it is a rough road. It definitely needs to be addressed. And part of it, again, is that engineering there at Francis. We've talked to the county representatives about quite a few areas in town that need help. 6 in Parker, 6 in Gauger, those 6 in Cedar, 6 Cedar is good, but that are being addressed. Our county representatives are working on that. So I can appreciate your concerns. That a lot of people use the back way to get in. If they came off 6, it wouldn't be a problem, but you're right. Silver Cross Boulevard to the south needs to be addressed. Next. Yes.
We're going to see the apartment complex behind Fire Station 1.
They just came here. The question was about the high-end apartments that were proposed near the fire department on Route 30, close to where the Dunkin Donuts is building their new building. That was a long negotiation with that developer. We got down to a number that we thought was acceptable, one that would be easily filled by a need in our community, one that would help with development and redevelopment in the area. They are moving forward as far as going through. They just came to our board meeting Monday night asking for an extension because they're dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers on some of the wetlands issues and some of the other engineering issues that are taking place. Here's what I made the comment, and I know the board supported. We were agreeable to what we approved and nothing less. So if that type of quality can't be built, personally, I will not be supportive of anything less than that. If they can move forward and build that, wonderful. If they can't, then we'll see where it goes from there. Okay? Yes?
Where is the location for the proposed new hospital?
For the behavioral?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. On Silver Cross Boulevard, there are 3 parcels that they were looking at closer to Silver Cross Boulevard. When I had met with Paul Pollack and Ruth Colby from Silver Cross, as well as U.S. Health Vest, who is their partner on that, I told them I wanted them closer to Silver Cross as opposed to the residential. So there were 3 different parcels there just across from the hospital on Silver Cross Boulevard that they're looking at. I'm not sure if they decided on which exact location yet. Okay? Anything else? All right, well, that's under an hour, so thank you again for taking your time out to be here today. Again, a big thank you to Silver Cross, the Chamber of Commerce, Nancy, for all your work. Don Winnie from Channel 6 for taping this. He does such a great job. Thank you for being interested in New Lenox. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.